You ever loved someone so much it felt like breathing, like your whole world just lit up when they walked in the room? And then, just like that, they pulled away, they ignored you, and it shattered you. I mean, deep down in your bones, it hurt. You stared at your phone, waiting, wondering, replaying every single moment in your head, thinking, what did I do wrong? Why is he acting like I don't exist? Let me tell you something that might shake you to your core. If he loves you, he will ignore you, not because he doesn't care, not because you aren't enough, but because sometimes love doesn't look the way we expect it to. And that truth, it's uncomfortable, it's painful, but it's also powerful. Let's break this down because I know you need clarity right now. Here's what's really happening when he pulls away. Listen closely, because this will change the way you see everything. These are the hard truths, but they will set you free. Ready? Here are 5 things you need to know. He is battling something inside himself that has nothing to do with you. You need to understand this on a deep, soul-shaking level. When someone pulls away, when they ignore you, when they suddenly go quiet, your mind immediately goes into panic mode. It starts running through every possible scenario, every conversation, every text, every moment, looking for where you might have messed up. You tell yourself it must be you. Maybe you were too much. Maybe you weren't enough. Maybe you said the wrong thing. Maybe you didn't say enough. Your brain turns into a crime scene investigator, dissecting every single detail, trying to solve the mystery of why the person you love is suddenly acting like you don't exist. But here's the truth. The thing that you need to tattoo onto your heart, it is not about you. It was never about you. He is battling something inside himself that has absolutely nothing to do with you. I know that's hard to hear because we all want control. We want to believe that if we could just do or say the right thing, we could fix it. We could make them come back. We could get the attention, the love, the validation we so desperately crave. But love doesn't work that way. Human emotions don't work that way. When someone ignores you, it's easy to take it personally. It's easy to assume that their silence is a direct response to something you did wrong. But more often than not, their silence is a reflection of their own internal battle. It's their fears, their insecurities, their childhood wounds, their past heartbreaks, their struggles with self-worth, the demons they haven't faced yet, the pressures they're under, the doubts that consume them at night when no one is watching. Men in particular have been conditioned to believe that they need to handle everything on their own. Society tells them they have to be strong, that they can't be vulnerable, that emotions are a sign of weakness. So when they feel overwhelmed, when they feel uncertain, when they feel like they're drowning in their own thoughts, they don't always reach out for help. They don't always communicate. They retreat. They pull away. They go silent, not because they don't care, not because they don't love you, but because they don't know how to process what they're feeling in a way that makes sense to them. Maybe he's dealing with financial stress. Maybe he's questioning his purpose in life. Maybe he's struggling with past trauma that he's never spoken about. Maybe he's terrified of getting hurt again. Maybe he's afraid of failing, of not being enough, of letting you down. Maybe he's never seen what healthy love looks like, and he's scared of ruining something good. And instead of saying, I'm struggling and I don't know what to do, he shuts down. Instead of admitting he's scared, he disappears. Instead of asking for support, he ignores you. Not because he wants to hurt you, not because you don't matter, but because he doesn't know how to bring you into his battle without feeling like he's burdening you with something he barely understands himself. This is not an excuse. This is not a free pass for emotional neglect or immature behavior, but it is a reality check. Because when someone pulls away, when they ignore you, you have 2 choices. You can take it personally and let it break you, or you can understand that this is their storm, not yours. And instead of trying to fix them, you can choose to stand in your power and let them fight their own battle. This is why chasing them never works. This is why demanding answers only pushes them further away. Because if someone is struggling internally, the last thing they need is pressure from the outside. The last thing they need is someone trying to force them into a conversation they aren't ready for. I know what you're thinking, but if he really loved me, he wouldn't ignore me. And I get it. I do. It feels cruel. It feels unfair. But love is not always easy. Love is not always logical. Love is messy, complicated, and sometimes painful. And the truth is, Someone can love you deeply and still struggle to show up for you in the way you need. Someone can care about you and still not know how to express it. So, what do? How do you handle it when the person you love goes silent, when they pull away, when they ignore you? You take a step back, you breathe, you remind yourself that this is not about you. You stop replaying every conversation, every text, every moment, looking for something you did wrong. You stop trying to solve a problem that isn't yours to solve. You give them space, not as a punishment, not as a game, but as a sign of respect for them and for yourself. You don't beg for attention. You don't chase after someone who isn't ready to show up, because love isn't about proving your worth to someone. Love isn't about convincing someone to pick you. Love is about connection, about understanding, about two people who are willing to show up for each other even when things get hard. And if he truly loves you, if he is meant to be in your life, he will work through whatever he is battling. He will find his way back with clarity and intention. And if he doesn't, then you have your answer. His silence was never a reflection of your worth. It was a reflection of where he was in his own journey. And that is something you cannot control. So stop internalizing his battle. Stop making his silence mean something about you. Stand in your power. Stand in your power. Know your worth and understand that real love will never require you to question yourself just to hold on to someone who isn't ready to be held. Men process emotions differently, and sometimes that means retreating. You're sitting there staring at your phone, wondering why he hasn't called. You go back through every message, every interaction, trying to make sense of it. 1 minute, everything was fine, perfect even, and now he's distant, quiet. Now he's acting like you don't exist. And your mind is screaming at you to do something, to reach out, to fix it, to figure out what went wrong. But before you let the panic take over, before you assume the worst, before you start convincing yourself that you need to chase him to get clarity, you need to hear this. He is not processing this the way you are. Men are wired differently. They've been raised differently. They've been taught, whether consciously or subconsciously, that emotions are dangerous, that vulnerability is a risk, that expressing feelings openly makes them weak. From the time they were little boys, they were told to be tough, to man up, to handle things on their own. They watched the world reward strength and silence, and they learned that struggling in private was better than speaking up. They learned that emotional battles were something they had to face alone. So when life gets overwhelming, when stress piles up, when fear creeps in, when doubts start to whisper in the back of their mind, what do? They don't reach out. They don't talk about it. They don't ask for help. They retreat. Not because they don't care, not because they don't love you, but because this is the only way they know how to handle what they're feeling. When a woman is struggling emotionally, her first instinct is usually to talk about it, to reach out to a friend, a partner, someone she trusts. She processes out loud. She finds comfort in connection. She wants to be heard, to be understood, to feel supported. But a man, his first instinct is usually the opposite. He shuts down. He withdraws into himself. He disappears into his mind, trying to work through it alone. Not because he doesn't want support, but because he's been conditioned to believe that asking for help makes him a burden. So when he pulls away, when he goes quiet, when he stops responding the way he used to, it's not always because he's losing interest. It's not always because he doesn't care. Sometimes it's because he's struggling with something that has nothing to do with you. And instead of letting you in, he's trying to handle it alone. But here's the part that hurts. You won't know that right away because he won't tell you. He won't say, hey, I'm dealing with something right now, and I just need some space to figure it out. He won't explain that his silence isn't about you. He won't reassure you that he still cares, that he still wants you, that he's not walking away, because he doesn't even realize how much his silence is affecting you. And he doesn't understand that his way of processing is making you feel abandoned. And that's where the disconnect happens. That's where the pain creeps in. Because while he's off in his own world, wrestling with whatever is going on inside him, you're left in the dark. You're left wondering if you did something wrong, if he's pulling away because he doesn't love you anymore. If this silence is his way of slowly disappearing from your life. So what do? How do you handle it when the person you love retreats into himself instead of turning to you? First, you have to remind yourself, this is not about you. His silence is not a reflection of your worth. His distance is not a measurement of his love for you. This is about the way he processes emotions, the way he copes with stress, the way he's learned to handle the storms in his mind. You don't chase. You don't beg for answers. You don't flood his phone with messages trying to pull him back to you. Because the more you push, the more he will retreat. The more you demand an explanation, the more pressure he will feel. And when a man feels pressure, when he feels like he's being cornered into expressing emotions he's not ready to face, he doesn't magically open up. He shuts down even more. Instead, you step back. You give him space, not as a punishment, not as a test, but as a sign of respect. You let him come to his own realization in his own time that shutting you out isn't the end. You let him see for himself that he doesn't have to retreat to deal with his emotions, that love doesn't disappear just because he's struggling. But here's the hardest part. You have to be okay with the possibility that he won't come back. You have to accept that some men never learn how to process emotions in a healthy way. Some men stay stuck in their silence, in their fear of vulnerability, in their pattern of pushing people away instead of letting them in. And no amount of love, no amount of patience, no amount of waiting will change that. Because love cannot fix what someone refuses to acknowledge. You cannot force someone to grow. You cannot heal someone who is unwilling to do the work. So if he comes back, if he realizes that his way of handling emotions is hurting your relationship, if he makes an effort to communicate, to let you in, to meet you halfway, then you have something worth working through. But if he stays distant, if he continues to retreat every time things get difficult, if he refuses to open up, no matter how much time you give him, then you have to ask yourself, is this the kind of love you want? Is this the kind of relationship that fulfills you? Because you deserve more than a love that leaves you questioning your worth. You deserve more than someone who disappears when things get hard. You deserve a partner who chooses connection over silence, communication over withdrawal, vulnerability over avoidance. So the next time he pulls away, the next time he goes quiet, the next time you feel that ache of uncertainty creeping in, take a deep breath. Remind yourself that this is not about you. Resist the urge to chase. Stand in your power and trust that the right love, the love that is meant for you, will never leave you wondering where you stand. Ignoring you might be his way of protecting you. That sentence doesn't make sense at first, does it? It almost feels like a contradiction. How can someone who loves you ignore you and call it protection? How can silence be a form of care? How can distance be an act of love? It feels counterintuitive. It feels painful. It feels like rejection, not protection. And yet for some people, especially for men who struggle with vulnerability, pulling away is their misguided way of keeping you safe from the storm inside them. It doesn't feel like protection to you, though. To you, it feels like abandonment, and it feels like you're being pushed aside, like you don't matter enough for them to let you in. It feels like you're standing outside in the cold, knocking on a door that refuses to open. You ask yourself why. Why wouldn't he talk to you? Why wouldn't he let you in? Why does it feel like he's shutting you out of his world, even though you've done nothing but love him? You tell yourself that if he truly cared, he wouldn't leave you in the dark. He wouldn't make you question everything. He wouldn't make you feel invisible. And yet, from his perspective, ignoring you isn't about love or the lack of it. It's about fear. It's about protection. It's about believing deep down that whatever he's going through, whatever he's feeling, whatever battle he's facing is something he has to handle alone. He doesn't want to drag you into his chaos. He doesn't want to hurt you with his uncertainty, his doubts, his struggles, his demons. So instead of letting you in, instead of risking that his problems might become your problems, he chooses to shut down. Men, especially those who have been through pain, those who have been taught that their emotions are dangerous, those who have seen love go wrong before, often believe that the best way to protect someone they care about is by stepping away. They think that if they bring you too close, you'll see their flaws, their weaknesses, the parts of themselves they're not proud of. They think that if they let you see the raw, unfiltered version of themselves, you'll leave anyway. So instead, they make the choice for you. They retreat before you have the chance to walk away. They distance themselves because in their mind, pushing you away now is easier than being left later. But they don't realize the damage they're doing. They don't realize that their silence doesn't feel like love. It feels like rejection. They don't realize that by trying to protect you from their darkness, they're creating a new kind of pain. They don't see that what they believe is an act of selflessness, keeping their struggles to themselves, is actually selfish in a different way. Because real love isn't about shutting someone out to keep them safe. Real love is about letting someone in, even when it's messy, even when it's hard, even when you're afraid. And this is where the real struggle begins. Because when a man ignores you in the name of protection, you feel the pull to break through. You want to show him that he doesn't have to do it alone. You want to prove to him that you're strong enough to handle whatever he's carrying. You want to convince him that love isn't about retreating. It's about standing together, about facing the storm as a team. But you can't force someone to let you in. You can't fight for a space in someone's life when they are actively shutting the door. You can knock, you can wait, you can hope. But at the end of the day, love is a two-way street. And if someone is choosing distance, if someone is convinced that ignoring you is their way of loving you, you have to ask yourself, do you want a love that keeps you at arm's length? Do you want a love that makes decisions for you without giving you a say? Because here's the truth. If he really loves you, if he truly cares, he will learn that love isn't about protection through distance. It's about connection through trust. He will realize that shutting you out doesn't shield you from pain. It creates more of it. He will see that real love isn't about handling everything alone. It's about having a partner to walk beside you. But if he stays in his pattern, if he continues to ignore you, to push you away, to convince himself that silence is love, then you have your answer. You have the clarity you need, because love should never feel like you're begging for access to someone's heart. Love should never make you feel like you're on the outside looking in. Love should never be a guessing game of trying to figure out whether you matter or not. So if he is ignoring you under the illusion of protecting you, let him have his space. Let him sit with his own choices. Let him learn on his own that love doesn't thrive in silence. And in the meantime, protect yourself. Protect your heart. Because the right love, the love that is truly meant for you, will never require you to prove that you're worth staying close to. Silence is a test of your self-worth. The moment he stops responding, the moment his energy shifts, the moment he pulls away, and you feel that gut-wrenching sense of distance, everything inside you starts screaming. Your mind jumps into overdrive, running through every possible explanation. Did I do something wrong? Did I say something that upset him? Is he losing interest? Is this the beginning of the end? You reach for your phone, you stare at the screen, you think about sending a message, just something simple, just to check in. But then the doubt creeps in. What if he doesn't reply? What if he sees it and ignores it? What if you look desperate? What if he's already made up his mind and you're just prolonging the inevitable? The panic sets in. The overthinking spirals. The insecurity rises like a tidal wave, crashing over you, making you feel like you're drowning in uncertainty. But his silence doesn't just feel like distance. It feels like a test. And in a way, it is. But not the kind of test you think. It's not a test of your worth to him. It's a test of your worth to yourself. Because the truth is, this is the moment that defines everything. This is the moment where you have a choice. Do you shrink? Do you chase? Do you let his silence dictate how you feel about yourself? Or do you stand in your power? Do you remind yourself that your worth isn't dependent on someone else's attention? Do you choose to believe that real love doesn't require you to beg for it? This is where so many people get stuck. The fear of losing someone makes them forget who they are. The silence makes them second guess everything they bring to the table. It makes them question their value. It makes them believe that if they just prove their love, if they just show how much they care, if they just do a little bit more, maybe, just maybe, he'll stop ignoring them. But that's not how love works. That's not how self-worth works. When someone goes silent, when someone pulls away, when someone ignores you, it is not your job to fill in the gaps. It is not your job to perform for their attention. It is not your job to convince them to see your value. The only thing silence should ever teach you is how much you value yourself. And that's the hardest lesson of all, isn't it? Because deep down, there's a part of you that wants to believe that if you just wait long enough, if you just show them how patient and understanding you can be, if you just hold on a little tighter, they'll come back. But what if that's not the lesson here? What if the real lesson is learning to let go, Because here's the thing, when you know your worth, you don't chase. When you know your worth, you don't sit around analyzing someone's silence trying to decode what it means. When you know your worth, you don't lower your standards just to keep someone in your life. When you know your worth, you don't beg for the bare minimum. Silence is a mirror. It reflects back to you how much you truly believe in your own value. If someone's distance makes you feel like you are unworthy of love, then that is the wound you need to heal. If someone ignoring you makes you feel like you need to work harder to be seen, then that is the pattern you need to break. If someone's absence makes you feel like you are not enough, then that is the lie you need to stop telling yourself. Because the truth is, people who value you will not put you in a position where you have to question your worth. People who love you will not make you feel like you have to fight for their attention. People who care about you will not be comfortable leaving you in the dark. So if he is silent, let him be. If he is ignoring you, let him. If he is choosing distance over communication, let him. And instead of making it mean something about you, make it mean something about him, about where he is, about what he is capable of giving, about what he is willing to lose, and then make your choice. Do you shrink? Do you chase? Do you wait for someone who is showing you exactly where they stand? Or do you rise? Do you remember who you are? Do you choose yourself even when it's hard? Because at the end of the day, silence is only a test if you allow it to be. And the only thing it should ever teach you is that you were never meant to beg for what is already yours. Love that is real will never confuse you. You sit there, heart pounding, waiting for a text, a call, a sign, anything to tell you that you still matter. But nothing comes. And in that silence, in that empty space where his presence used to be, doubt creeps in. The overthinking starts. The questions pile up. You analyze everything, every word, every interaction, every moment that led up to this. What did I do wrong? Why is he acting this way? Is this normal? Does he care? It's exhausting. It's draining. It's a roller coaster that you never asked to ride. One day, he's there, engaged, present, making you feel like you are the most important person in the world. The next, he's distant, unavailable, acting as if you are just another option, a background thought, a convenience rather than a priority. The push and pull, the highs and lows, the constant guessing, it's an emotional battlefield. And you're left fighting for clarity, for stability, for reassurance that never comes. But real love doesn't feel like that. Real love isn't something you have to decode. It isn't a puzzle, a test, or a mystery waiting to be solved. Love that is true, love that is meant for you, will never leave you questioning where you stand. There's this lie we tell ourselves, that love is supposed to be hard. That if we care enough, if we are patient enough, if we prove ourselves enough, everything will eventually fall into place. That love is something we have to earn. That if we just wait a little longer, if we just try a little harder, if we just give a little more, the confusion will disappear and we will finally have the love we deserve. But that's not love. That's insecurity. That's fear disguised as devotion. That's attachment rooted in a belief that you are not worthy of something better. Love is not a guessing game. It is not something that makes you anxious, unsure, or afraid. Love is not a cycle of being chosen and then forgotten. It is not a pattern of being pulled close and then pushed away. Love is steady. Love is consistent. Love does not leave you wondering whether you are enough. So if you are confused, if you are questioning, if you are constantly trying to figure out how someone feels about you, that is your answer. Because the right person, the person who truly values you, will never put you in a position where you have to wonder. And yet so many people hold on. They convince themselves that the confusion means something deeper. That maybe, just maybe, his silence is proof of something profound. That maybe his distance is because he loves you so much that he is afraid. That maybe he is ignoring you because he is battling something he doesn't want to burden you with. That maybe if you just hold on a little longer, he will come back and everything will make sense. But love that is real does not need an explanation. It does not require you to read between the lines. It does not force you to make excuses for why you are being treated like an afterthought. And here's the hardest truth to accept. Sometimes the reason he is ignoring you is because he knows you won't leave. He knows that no matter how much space he takes, no matter how many mixed signals he sends, you will still be there waiting. He knows that you care enough to fill in the gaps, to justify his behavior, to convince yourself that there is a deeper meaning to his inconsistency. And as painful as that is to realize, it is also your power. Because the moment you see it, the moment you acknowledge that you deserve more than confusion, than hot and cold energy, than silence masquerading as love, that is the moment you set yourself free. Love does not live in confusion. It does not live in unanswered questions, in mixed signals, in silence that leaves you feeling like you are the only one trying. Love is clear. Love is open. Love does not keep you waiting in the dark, hoping for breadcrumbs of attention. So if he loves you, truly loves you, he will show you. With his actions, with his presence, with his consistency. And if he is ignoring you, if he is making you doubt your place in his life, then maybe he is giving you the greatest gift of all. The clarity to walk away. That love should never leave you feeling uncertain, unworthy, or unseen. If someone truly cares, they will show up, communicate, and make you feel valued, not ignored. Silence is not love, confusion is not love, and distance is not love. The right person will never make you question where you stand. So if he is ignoring you, let him. And instead of chasing answers, choose yourself, because real love, the love you deserve, will never require you to beg for it.